People who don't work in the construction business are often amazed that a building like this ever gets completed.
It takes years of planning, millions of dollars, and lots of your hard work. This is where it all begins, a new site. Our livelihood rides on turning this hole in the ground into a city landmark. And to do this, teamwork is essential. The goal of the team is to finish every project on schedule, under budget, and with the highest quality of work. None of this is possible if we don't also finish the job with a good safety record. Let's face it, there are potential hazards in our business. We need to take care of accidents before they happen. And the best way to do that is for everyone to know the general areas of on-the-job safety. By working smart and by working together, we can get the job done.
These are the primary areas of concern for good safety: housekeeping, personal protective equipment, fall protection, vehicle safety, excavations, electrical hazards, hazardous materials, material handling, and substance abuse.
We can only touch briefly on each of these areas today. If you have questions, talk to the person responsible for safety at your job site, a supervisor, foreman, or safety director.
And while you're on the job, remember, it's not this person's job to hassle you. They're there to answer your questions, to advise you, and to keep an extra pair of eyes on the lookout for possible safety problems. They're there to help you spot potential problems and prevent a serious accident before it occurs. That's the key to prevention.
In construction, housekeeping translates into tidiness and organization. By looking at the housekeeping on a site, you can usually tell if basic safety principles are being followed. If you find a messy job site, there are usually other safety problems present as well.
Remember, poor housekeeping can lead to a simple trip or a serious fall. So clean up after yourself periodically as you work.
Tools should be kept in a job box so they're out of the way and everyone can find them.
Materials should be stacked or piled neatly and out of the way. Always remove or hammer down nails in scrap lumber and make sure that there's a clear path for foot traffic.
What good housekeeping boils down to is paying attention to detail. And like housekeeping, personal protective equipment is also a matter of using your head. It's your responsibility to use good, reliable personal protective equipment when it's needed. Generally, there are two types of personal protective equipment: the equipment that you need every day and equipment that's unique to a specific job.
Here's a short list of basic necessities. A hard hat is to be worn at all times on the job site. Steel-toed work boots are also a good idea. High-topped boots will offer good ankle support. Good, oil-resistant, no-slip soles are also a wise choice. Tennis shoes or basketball shoes are never acceptable. Believe me, you'll appreciate a good pair of boots after a few days on the job. Long-sleeve shirts will protect you from scratches and sunburn. And gloves save a lot of wear and tear on your hands.
It's pretty simple, really. Just think about the situations you might encounter during the day and dress accordingly.
You'll need some special equipment from time to protect you from specific hazards. For example, you may need a respirator to protect you from asbestos fibers if you're working in an old building. Remember, not all respirators will protect you from all respiratory hazards, so it's important to follow the instructions of a qualified person to determine whether you need a respirator and to train you in its proper use if you do. Eye protection is an important piece of equipment, since different types of eye protection protect you from different types of hazards, like flying particles, splashing chemicals, or light from a welding torch. Make sure what you're using is appropriate. And if you're exposed to loud noise, use either earmuffs or earplugs. Loud noise over a period of time can damage your hearing.
Another extremely important safety measure is fall protection. Falls are the #1 cause of fatalities in construction.
In our industry, we often work at heights, but it's not just a fall from the top of a high-rise that can be a problem. Shorter falls can be just as dangerous. In most situations, if you're exposed to a fall of 6 feet or more while you're working, you'll need some type of fall protection. Good fall protection programs include pre-planning of potential exposures, training, and good equipment or materials that are properly used.
There are basically 8 types of fall protection.
Guardrails, safety nets, covers, personal fall arrest systems, warning lines, controlled access zones, safety monitors, and fall protection plans.
Each has a specific use. Your employer will choose the type of fall protection that you need. Always look over the entire system before you trust your life to it. For example,
if you're using covers, check to make sure that they're labeled correctly and secured in place. If you're using guardrails, make sure that they're in good condition, properly installed, and that toe boards are firmly secured. If you're using a safety net, check the net and its anchorages for any fraying or wear. If you're using a personal fall arrest system, check for tears, fraying, worn hardware, or anything else out of the ordinary. Use only locking snap hooks to prevent rollout. As of January 1st, 1998, non-locking snap hooks are prohibited. Body belts are fine as a positioning device, but they're not recommended for fall protection because in a free fall, a body belt can cause you to jackknife. As of January 1st, 1998, body belts are no longer allowed as part of a personal fall arrest system.
operating a vehicle on a construction site is tricky business. The number 2 cause of fatalities in construction is being struck by an object, and in many cases, that means being struck by a vehicle.
There's activity all around you. The hazards on a construction site can change drastically from one minute to the next. An area that was clear moments ago can quickly become blocked with materials, not to mention pedestrians. An accident can happen at any moment. Check your vehicle before each trip. Inspect the tires and adjust the mirrors. Secure your load, wear your seatbelt, and use extra caution when backing up. Make sure the vehicle backup alarm is working properly before you start. Having a signal person assist you is also a good idea. When driving, stay alert. We spend so much time operating vehicles on and off the site that it's easy to become complacent, but that's when accidents happen.
The third leading cause of fatalities in construction is from being caught in between objects. Cave-ins account for most of them. You don't want to find yourself caught between objects, caught between a rock and a hard place, as they say.
Cave-ins are 15 times more likely to result in death than other construction accidents. If you have to go into a trench or excavation for any reason, there are several things you should know. If the trench is 5 feet deep or deeper, and it's not in stable rock, you should be protected from cave-ins by a protective system such as sloping, benching, or shields. Never enter any trench or excavation until the designated competent person tells you it's okay to do so. Ask your supervisor to identify the competent person. Also, all excavations deeper than 4 feet should have exits, such as ramps or ladders, placed so that workers will not have to go more than 25 feet to reach one. Remember, in construction, conditions are subject to change at any time. If you see anything out of the ordinary in any trench or excavation, like water flowing in, cracks in the walls, partial cave-ins, damaged shoring materials or trench boxes, or anything else that could result in a cave-in, get out of the trench and warn other workers to do the same. Report it to your supervisor immediately. Finally, if you ever do witness a cave-in, don't go into the trench or excavation for any reason, even if a coworker is still in it. Call for a trained rescue team immediately. Many would-be rescuers have been killed trying to help coworkers.
The fourth leading cause of fatalities in construction is electrocutions. Still, we can't avoid electricity, but we can learn to use electricity safely.
Always remember that even low-voltage sources can generate enough current to kill you. Most electrocutions on construction sites occur from contact with live electrical lines where the lines were not de-energized, contact with overhead power lines with ladders, scaffolds, or heavy equipment like cranes, power tool cords that are not properly grounded or that are damaged or worn.
Stay aware of the electrical sources around you, including overhead and underground power lines. Take all steps necessary to avoid contact with these lines.
Inspect power tools and extension cords before each use. Never use a power tool or extension cord that's damaged in any way, including the absence of the ground connection on the plug. Never let the power tool or cord get wet, and be sure you're not standing in water while using a power tool. Finally, stay away from electrical panel boxes unless you're properly trained to work with them. And if an electrical accident should occur, stay away from the source of the electricity until it is de-energized.
While we can easily see many potential hazards, we also run into those we can't see.
We come into contact with some pretty powerful chemicals on the job, some of which can disable you before you even know what happened. That's why it's important to know the dangers of these hazardous materials and to take the appropriate precautions. Most chemicals are well marked. Read the labels and follow the manufacturer's recommendations before you open the container. If the label doesn't give you the information you need, check the Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS. Copies of the MSDS should be readily available. If you have questions, ask your supervisor.
We do so much material handling during the day that it's easy to get casual in our work habits. But it's precisely because we spend so much of our day lifting and carrying that we need to give this safety concern special attention.
Never lift anything that is too heavy or awkward. Get help and use proper lifting techniques. Make sure that you have a good grip. Use your legs, not your back. Never twist your body. And make sure there's a clear path before you pick up the materials.
Simple guidelines, but ignoring them could cause you to suffer a lot of pain. Finally, we need to talk about substance abuse. Okay, we're all adults here. I'm not going to preach to you and tell you how to live your life. But if your off-the-job pastimes start to affect your on-the-job performance, well, that becomes everybody's business.
If your judgment is affected, if your senses are cloudy, or if your reflexes are slowed, you're not only putting your own life at risk, but everyone else's along with it. In construction, teamwork is critical. How confident would you feel if your partner had a few too many the night before? If you think you or anyone else on the site has a problem with substance abuse, talk to your supervisor. There's counseling and other help available if needed.
Construction is for professionals, people who take pride in their work, their skill, their co-workers, and themselves. Each of us must strive to keep each job site accident-free.